Everybody. This is Dan, and I'll be doing the tutorial today. And this tutorial is on tips on increasing member participation, that is, opting in. I like to start by talking about some terms because these can be confusing. And there is an action required to log on. There's an action required to opt in, and also an action required to submit online vote. Now, a lot of people will use the term registering, like we want to encourage people to register. The problem with the term register is we don't really know what that means. Does that mean that they're logging on, that they're getting access? Does that mean they're opting in, or does that mean they're voting? So I'd like to not use the term register in this tutorial, and I'll just use the terms here: logging on, opting in, and submitting the online vote. The key for you, I think, is opting in, and that may be the closest definition of what you might mean when you say registering. Because if you have 50% of your community has opted in, then you do not need to, at least in Florida, you do not need to mail the paper ballot envelopes, etc., to those addresses where they have an opt-in member. So opting in is where I put my concentration, and obviously you have to log on to opt in, and obviously when you opt in, I'm hoping that you begin voting online. Okay, so those are the terms. Now, the beginning of this is we believe that the best marketing and the best way you can get people to participate is via a non-binding survey. I say a non-binding survey only because I'm making sure that you understand that this is not an action that requires a quorum of your members. I could have said just creating any sort of survey at all, but you can always do a survey. You can stand in front of one room with a bunch of people and ask them what they think about something. That's a survey. So you don't have to have a quorum to do a survey. And there's three basic type of surveys. There's a strong survey, and a strong survey not only allows a member to vote on the survey, but you're talking about a member who cares about voting and maybe cares enough that after they vote, they knock on their next door neighbor's door and they encourage them to vote also. Strong because they care about it. They care enough to not only vote, but to involve other members. Medium would be those things that they might care about. They might care about telling you. They might think it makes a difference. And weak are the ones where they get to actually go through the process, so they have the experience of voting, but it really doesn't really mean a whole lot, and they don't think it's really going anywhere. So now that I've defined the survey, and the survey is the #1 best way to get people to participate, and in our package you get unlimited voting opportunities, and that includes surveys. So we always suggest you get the package early enough that before you need it, you run a survey. Then when you have an election or a document change, people already know where to go. They already have their username, they already have their password, they've already opted in, so you don't need to mail them the vote and the package of resumes. So the survey is what we tend to encourage. Julie, any questions?
No questions yet.
Okay. Now, along with the survey and the value of the question that you ask, I like to identify an action related to the vote. In the ones above there, C, the weak one, how long have you lived here? There would probably be no action at all to that, which is why it makes it weak. If I'm in a community and maybe I don't trust my leadership, maybe I don't like my leadership, but I really, whether I do or not, answering that weak question, I don't think that's really going to matter. My vote doesn't really matter. To maybe curious. Now, the medium one might matter. If we find that most of the community likes the pool party, there might be a chance that the pool party won't get canceled. and that if they have limited funds, the pool party might be number one on their thought process. It's a medium activity, not a strong, because we have no guarantee that, but we might believe that. Now, the strong one, do you want the board to look into adding speed humps in the community? That's strong because I care about it. I want you to know my opinion. And the only way I can make that better is to identify an action related. By the way, this is my second number 2. But anyway, my second number 2, identify an action related to the vote. If there's an action that I can link to that vote, now I've gone from strong to super strong. And I'd like to show you what that looks like. Okay, here is my vote. I've just logged on. I'm going to give it. I'll give you a chance to read that first. And since this is a audio as well, I'll read it as well. Do you want the board to look into the cost of adding a speed hump near the entrance to our community? And now that is the question. Now here's the action. If the majority of online voters choose yes, the board will assign a subcommittee to look into the costs. The subcommittee will present their findings at the June board meeting. That's if majority are yes votes. Then we have if the majority of online voters choose no, there will be no study on costs, and this will not be on the June agenda. Now we have a question about the speed humps. We have a survey, and now we have action. Now, this not only says that you might want to vote on this because you care about speed humps, pro or anti, but this is also saying your vote counts. Your vote counts, and here's why it counts. Here's what your vote is going to mean. This is the result of your vote. This is probably the strongest possible survey you can have. I don't mean the question, but linking a question to an action. And keep in mind that this vote did not spend any money. This vote did not cause any real action other than a study. It did say that we're going to have speed humps. It didn't say we'll never have them. It just says at this moment, you're going to direct the board on their next little study group. You're going to direct them on whether this is something that should be brought up. Very safe. A very nice survey. Again, a good question with a positive action linked to the vote itself. Any questions, Julie?
No.
Okay, let me give you another example like this. One community, this is a real example. One community, the board got together and they decided they wanted to do 4 activities during the summer months, like planting flowers at the end of some court and cleaning up something else, and just 4 general activities. No activity that required a quorum or no activity that required approval. And the board was going to do all these activities during the summer. What they did is they put out a survey to the membership, and what they said is using online votes only, the members can direct the board on their list of priorities. In other words, of these 4 things, the first thing they will do in the community will be based upon the votes of the members. Again, perfectly legal. And now you have members thinking that they're now, maybe for the first time, they're directing the board. They're actually voting on priorities. If you have different courts that they're all going to get worked on, or they're all going to get the parking spots repainted, you have a chance of saying, if you get more online votes from ABC court, we'll do that one first. I mean, things like that allow you to do what you would have done anyway, but to activate the membership on having an interest in voting and participating in the decision making. Any questions, Julie?
Yes, there's a question about setting up a survey. Is that one of the tutorials that we had? Is that on our website?
Yes, it is on the website. It is one of the videos. It's a nice recording. It's not very long. It's also in the user's guide. We have all the steps in the user's guide, but also at the end of the user's guide, we have Appendix A, B, and C, Apple, Bravo, C, Commander. And it is Appendix A. Appendix A is how you create a vote. Creating a survey follows the same process as creating a vote. No difference. The system just knows you're voting. It doesn't really care if it's a survey or a real vote, one that requires a quorum. The only difference is in Florida, you must stipulate the opt-in deadline dates and the opt-out deadline dates if the vote requires a quorum. Obviously, a survey does not require a quorum, so you would skip the opt-in, opt-out deadline dates in Florida. If you're not in Florida, you would always skip the opt-in, opt-out dates. Okay, if there's no other questions, I'm going to go on. Go ahead, Julie.
I'm sorry. Nope, you're good.
Okay. Let's go back here then. Okay, now we're going to talk about the marketing. Now, when I say marketing, please understand that this is leadership driven. If your board is not on board, you're not likely to have a high percentage of members opted in. The board really must be on board. This is leadership driven. And the question when you market is, why should I participate? Okay, I'm an average member in the community, and you're telling me to vote electronically. Why? We need to market this. Those of us who have been doing this a while know that we don't have to mail in Florida. We don't have to mail to people who have opted in. Therefore, I can save money and I can save time. Now, if I'm a member in the community, I should like saving money because that's my money I'm saving. And when it comes to the meetings can drag on as we handle all of the paper ballots. Well, again, that should speed up then. That should speed up because we're going to get more electronic votes, eliminating the amount of work we do. So just keep thinking about if a person says, why should I participate? What is your answer for them? Why should they participate? Again, leadership driven. Now I'm suggesting on A that you add electronic voting to every agenda. It doesn't have to be a long time. Perhaps just announce what percentage addresses have opted in to this point, and perhaps show a graph and encourage that more people opt in. Tell your neighbors and repeat the savings, that we're saving you time and money, and we're providing you a system of voting that is more secure than paper. And B, there is a range of time to help opt in. People who want to opt in or who want to log on may find that intimidating, especially if they're not used to using a computer all the time. So arrange time. Get a computer in the back of the room. And after a meeting or at a meeting, say, just go back there and so will help you get your first log on, will help you log on, help you opt in. And C, add opting in to other activities. One community had it was like a tea party, tea and cookies. And at the front of the door, they had a computer. They had somebody who knew how to opt in. And they would ask the person walking into the room, are you opted in for electronic voting? If they said no, they put them to the side there and they encouraged them to. And if they were willing to, then they would help them. Think in terms of the bloodmobile. You do this action first and then you get your cookies. And that actually worked very, very well. And one thing that's been extremely successful is a town hall meeting. And if you're close, if we can arrange it, we would attend and help you. A town hall meeting allows you, again, to say why I should care, why I should participate, but it also allows your members to express their misgivings or their thoughts about the process. Like, is it really secure? How do I know that it's not being monkeyed with? It allows them to have an interaction with the leadership or with us if we're invited to attend, so that they can feel more comfortable about the whole process. So town halls are very good as well. Julie, any questions?
There's one question. In your opinion, what is a good percentage for opted in?
We're finding that a good percentage should be over 50%. That's the goal. Over 50% of the addresses should have at least one voter who has opted in. Now, we have a couple communities that are over 90%. One is at 94%. Now, I got to tell you that when that community put out an election online, their cost for mailing was almost nothing, and they met their quorum in the first 24 hours. Remember, they opened up the election for online voting the same time that they put the ballots, the materials in the mail, in the postal mail. And in the first 24 hours before the paper mail was delivered, they actually got to the houses, they had already met their quorum. That's an exciting thing about electronic voting. You can really see a huge, huge benefits. Now, there was another community that the way they marketed is they actually assigned court captains. They would assign one person to each few houses or each 10 or 15 houses. And their job was to knock on the doors and just talk to them, visit them and talk to them about electronic voting, encourage them, and hopefully to help them the first time. Again, that's a very social thing to do. That community hit 75% opted in 8 weeks. So, and they've gone a lot further than that now. So again, as I said, this is leadership driven, and how you market it, how you support it, how you communicate is really critical. Your survey is the tool, and your leadership is the ones that will deliver the message. Any questions, Julie?
There is one. What if I only have 30% opted in?
You know, there's a benefit no matter what you have. Let's say you have only, let's go smaller than that. Let's say you only have 10%. That's still 10% that may be added to what you normally get. If you typically hit your quorum by only 1 or 2%, 10% can be a big deal. And electronic voting allows you the opportunity to receive a vote that you would never have gotten before. I went to one meeting. It was actually a town hall. And one gentleman said he wanted to talk, and he stood up and he told us that, he told the group that he was from Japan and that he flies into the United States once a year and he coordinates that with the election time because he wants to vote, and voting is very important to him. And he knows that living in Japan, he will never get the vote, the paper vote, mailed to him, delivered, signed, and mailed back in time, that the only way he can vote is by flying to America, once a year at the right time. Now, there's a person that can, without having to do that, now with electronic voting, they can always participate. They can participate in the first 24 hours. So any percentage you have guarantees you a lower cost, because those are addresses you don't have to mail to, and we should add to your quorum. Nothing you are doing will ever reduce your quorum or increase your cost for mailing. So any percentage you have is good, and you got to start someplace. Not everybody hits 75% in 8 weeks. Sometimes you start with your 20 or 30%. And then after the election and at the meeting, as you announce what's going on, and people can share their experiences, then it increases and increases and increases. So don't be worried if you don't have 50% yet, but that is a good goal. Anything, Julie?
I have one more. How do you encourage empathetic homeowners?
Really just this way. The average, in my opinion now, the average homeowner is not interested because they don't really believe that they have a say. The average homeowner votes one time a year for board members. Sometimes they're voting for people they don't know. Sometimes there is no vote because nobody's running. If that's all of the experience that a homeowner has, why would you expect them to be more interested? But if you can start changing your whole concept of your association, change your concept from association to a real neighborhood. In other words, everybody is involved in the neighborhood, and that's easy to do. Think in terms of all the decisions a board makes that they don't really care if it's A or B. For instance, they're painting the back fence, and the board has to decide if it's beige or is it going to be white. The board doesn't care. They're both nice colors. They're both, going to fit in nicely. Throw that to your community. Tell your community that you are going to choose the color of the back fence paint, and then give them a choice of just white or beige. Do that often, and then people, your homeowners, are going to realize that they're a part of the community and they're making real decisions. Admittedly, they're not big decisions, but right now they make pretty much no decisions. They make no decision unless a quorum is needed. So they're not involved in the day-to-day. I think that it's time we change that. Okay, Julie?
Okay, I think we are good.
Okay, if I can just conclude then by saying that electronic voting gives you the opportunity to really start inspiring and start activating members. It gives you the opportunity to have them involved in how the community looks and involved in everything. You're going to have a picnic at the end of the year. Let the members choose which weekend it is. Once the board says these weekends are available and we don't care which one, let the membership choose which weekend. Let the membership choose all those things that makes them think that they are that their vote, their preference matters. And then the apathetic members will realize that they don't have to be apathetic anymore, that they're part of the neighborhood. They're part of the whole process. We really encourage that. Okay, Julie?
Okay, great. Just, actually, I have a couple of things here. A comment from someone says it means that we have to let go of some control as a board, I would imagine. And
if I can just say though, remember you're letting go of control of those things that are not that important to you. If you insist that back fence must be painted gray and no other color will do, you're not letting control at all. But if you have an issue that you don't care about A or B, then let the members choose, and that way you're not giving up control. At least you're containing that control into what you find is acceptable choices. I'm not saying what color do you want the back fence to be, and you can pick any color like chartreuse. I'm saying you define the range, you define the choices, and that's your control. And then let them make the next step of picking A or B.
Okay, great. I have another question here. Is there a way to send a draft test survey to admin to see how it looks before sending to the community?
At the start, that is possible. At the start, we recommend doing a survey, and only we do surveys and we also do invitations. At the very start, we generally suggest you only invite the board members, or you only invite the admins, so they can get their username and password. They can log in, they can opt in, and they can vote, and they've seen the whole process. We recommend that at the start before you invite all of the members. Now, once you've invited all of the members, whenever you create a vote, it's visible to all of the voters. So once you're underway, you can't hide a vote from one person and allow it to be seen by another.
Okay, the question is at the start of what?
After your start of beginning, you give us the data. We set up your community, and now it's time to begin using online voting. And the first thing you do is create some sort of survey, The second thing you do is invite the voters, and the third thing you do is send an email telling people it's time to vote and look for that invitation. I'm saying that at the very beginning, when you first do business with us, you can do step one, create the survey, and then step two, when you invite the members, invite only the particular members who are testing the system. And in step three, send an email to just those few members that you're set up to do the test. That can be done at the very beginning before the first invitation goes out to the membership